What does it mean to transmute emotions or to alchemize pain? I've been asked this question and I was inspired to share my own perspective on what it is and how this is done. So if you look up transmutation in the dictionary, you'll find that it is to change or alter in form, appearance, or nature, and especially to a higher form. So to transmute emotions, we utilize any method, any tool that helps us take these emotions that normally weigh us down, such as fear or anger, and transform that energy into an energy that is more purposeful, more useful, more positively channeled in our life. And correspondingly, you could say that inner alchemy is about going to the root, finding the root belief that is the cause of that emotion in the first place, and transforming that belief into something more empowering, something more positive in the lives of ourselves and others, something that allows us to widen our perspective of love instead of limiting the love that we feel that we can experience. And so transmutation is a part of inner alchemy, and that is an integral part of learning our life lessons here on earth. And I do think that for many of us at this point, this is becoming a normal part of life. We may do it without even fully knowing that we are doing it. We do feel in our bodies when we truly transmute emotions, but we may not have the language for it. We may need a bit of experience to trust ourselves and what it is we are doing. And I believe that it would serve many at this point to learn to do this more consciously and more intentionally. And to do that, we must first understand that we are not powerless to emotions. So the idea is to simply look at emotions like energy, and we can take an energy and transform it into another energy if we input energy into the system. So we're not trying to break any laws of physics here. We're not trying to create something out of nothing. Rather, we are inputting energy by creating an internal environment in which these emotions can be, so to say, entrained into the higher frequency. In other words, we want to create an internal environment of ideally unconditional love. It would work with a high degree of gratitude or appreciation or joy as well. Any higher frequency helps us see things more clearly. But for this discussion, I want to focus on a loving state, and in particular today, Christ consciousness. So imagine a consciousness that is so unconditionally loving that it will embrace all things, and I mean everything, nothing excluded. Even the things you hate about the world, Christ consciousness would include and embrace and love that too. Not endorse it, maybe it would endorse love and the wisdom derived from love, but ultimately it would see everything as one, and that means nothing is excluded from this love. This is the clear seeing of the awakened mind and heart. Now, we don't necessarily have to have achieved a high degree of Christ consciousness in order to be able to transmute energy, but the deeper true understanding we have of Christ consciousness, the less resistance we will have to the process of transmutation, and the more powerful and effective it will be. I would suggest to include in your concept of Christ consciousness some sort of connection to a deeper part of yourself, something beyond the thinking mind. And you can call it God or Source, higher self, or you could call it Vignamaya, the wisdom body of your being. You could call it heart wisdom, or you can call on your angels or guides, as long as you remember the power that you have to discern and make decisions according to your own truth from your own heart. You can choose any kind of deeper interaction that calls to you, that helps you step beyond your thinking, analyzing mind. So there are several good reasons that I encourage cultivating this relationship with the deeper part of yourself. One of them, a key point, is that it shows a willingness to be humble to the fact that you are only human. You have blind spot, you have a limited vision, you have some false beliefs that enable you to feel this feeling that you're now wanting to transmute, and that is okay. That's part of the point of being human and learning these lessons of alchemizing. So having that kind of relationship helps you to be able to demonstrate this willingness to be naked, to be transparent to that deeper aspect of yourself, to be completely honest, even with all the things that don't feel so good about you, that things that you have done or that you do that don't feel so aligned with your desires of peace and love. And when you demonstrate that willingness, you open up this space of acceptance. And in that space is where true compassion can begin to take form. And once you reach that point, then your communion can also more directly help you connect with the wisdom that you need to resolve these things that your mind never could. It is a state of opening, of receptivity. And in that open, receptive, humble state, love begins to flow more freely, and it begins to really embrace these emotions and train them into the frequency of love, so you can begin to see even the anger, even the fear from a state of love. And so they completely transform, or your relationship to them completely transforms, and they become light and neutral, and you see that you can shift in and out of them and not be swayed. This is transmutation. And when you can do this process for yourself, when you've gotten the hang of it, then you can also do it for a collective. So you do the same process of changing or transmuting your relationship to these heavy experiences, and you also imagine other people going through the same kind of suffering, and you breathe in their suffering and learn to hold, expand to hold that suffering within you, and transmute that into the same source of love. This practice is called Tonglen in Buddhism, and it is extraordinarily powerful. So you will notice, if you've done this and gotten the hang of it, you'll feel this torrent of energy flowing through you. And so when I do this, I generate a lot of heat. I can feel like a hot burning fire burning through all this debris of human consciousness, of that which I am also personally transmuting. And so you feel kind of like a conduit between source love and the friction, the suffering of the human collective that we're all a part of. So again, it takes energy to do this work, but the energy it takes depends on the degree to which we are resisting the process and resisting the emotion. So let's say, for example, I want to transmute a collective energy of hatred. If I personally still have a lot of resistance to the emotion of hatred, if I feel like hatred is something that we should not feel at all, then this process would be a very draining and potentially quite painful process for me to experience. But if I have accepted that hatred is simply a consequence of human collective consciousness, of our human psychology, and if I can accept that not just cognitively, but I have accepted it in my tissues because I've done the inner work, then doing this transmutation for larger collective energy is not that draining anymore. It still takes energy, okay? So I might notice myself getting very hot as I do it. I might get hungry, thirsty, need to sleep more for a while, but it's not like that energy is ever lost, okay? So it's more like it's a physical energy that is transmuted into a spiritual energy, if we define spiritual energy as pure source love. And the benefit for us is, of course, that we get to tap into that source love in the process, and we gain more inner peace in the process. And maybe you don't always access that pure source love when you do this work. Maybe you can only access a partial acceptance of an emotion or of an energy, and that's okay. Any intention that you set towards transmuting something more into love, and any effort you give to that, will be fruitful, okay? So you may not see it in your physical reality just yet that you have done something good, but it will always propel your soul journey and also the collective consciousness around you. So it's always fruitful in the long run. So I just want to share very briefly how I do this. And this is very personal, and you've got to find a way that works for you. This is just my way. I use one of two ways mainly. And my go-to is to tap into the energy or the presence of Mahavatar Babaji. So Mahavatar Babaji to me is everything, is basically one avatar or personification of all that is. And to me, his presence is so powerful because it is absolutely neutral. It is poised in absolute equanimity. And I have a very easy time when I sit in that presence to be poised in that neutrality. And so when there is something that is really big, really difficult, something that would feel difficult to bring directly into a space of overwhelming love, I know that Babaji's presence, or really a reflection of my own state of being in his presence, is unconditionally loving, but it is not overwhelming, it is not overpowering. Rather, it is that state of neutrality that embraces the issue first. So I bring this thing that I want to transmute into his presence and simply witness. And often this simple act is enough for it to transmute, for it to change entirely. And another way that I often connect is to my inner archetypal energy of Divine Mother. And so this is a very loving, nurturing, warm energy, also all encompassing, but in a different quality. And so if there's anything that needs to be seen and validated, held, embraced, loved, then that can be superbly embraced by the Divine Mother energy. So really, if we have any inner child issues that need resolving, tapping into our unconditional Divine Mother or Divine Father archetypes within can be so, so helpful with that. So there are many other ways that I connect that have been tremendously helpful for me. For example, connecting to nature, to elements in nature or specific consciousnesses in nature, or also connecting to guides or ancestors or past loved ones. Or even just connecting with loved ones alive now. I'm not saying just as if it's a small thing. What we're still talking about is to allow ourselves to be completely seen, lay everything out on the table, and be willing to learn to transmute the heavy energies, to learn to bring them into a space of unconditional love. I will end with one of my favorite mantras that I have used a lot with those things that I had no idea how to heal. So you bring this mantra to any issue that you want healing in, and you say, I am willing to learn to see this differently. I'm willing to learn to see this from a lens of love. Just trust yourself, follow life, follow the process of life, and let it lead you to your healing, to your transmutation, to your letting go. Trust yourself and it will work. I hope that this inspires you to give it a try. Do let me know in the comments how it worked for you, what inspired you, or if you have any experiences of transmutation for yourself or for the collective that you want to share. Let's inspire each other. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you a beautiful day and week. I hope to see you next time. Thank you.